Hey guys, feeper here back with another video for you. It's no secret that many modern games have adopted the live service philosophy, one that in my opinion is hurting the industry. Now to be specific, I'm talking about when a game launches and is essentially not a finished product, and the developer tries to fix the game through content patches when the game really should have just been delayed and pushed back so it can be released in a better state. Gone are the days where DLC is just DLC and the game on release is actually a full game. We're in the midst of battle and season passes that lock content that arguably should have been in the base game to begin with, or at least would have been in the base game in the past. While this topic probably warrants its own video, I do want to talk about something that I think is tied very closely to this, and that is limited content. And by limited, I mean time-based content. Some prime examples of this are limited event quests in Monster Hunter World, or the new Unreal trials that are going to be coming to Final Fantasy XIV. Of course, there's a million other examples, but I think you guys kind of get the gist of what I'm going to be discussing in this video. So without further ado, let's jump in. By the intro to this video, you can all probably tell that I'm not a big fan of live service games or games that release limited content. It used to be that you would buy a game and it would be a pretty much close to 100% complete product when you purchased it. Of course, there's cut content in many games, but what's happening now is beyond, oh, we had to cut a zone or maybe one NPC because we just didn't have enough time. Now it's getting to the point where games are shipping with very annoying to possibly even game-breaking and progression-stopping bugs, entire systems aren't flushed out, promises are unfulfilled, and core mechanics are just not working. Take a look at Fallout 76. That game is honestly still a pile of crap, but when it released, it was 1,000 times worse. Bethesda basically counted on modders to fix their game for them while they do content patches, air quotes on that, to fix their product. But I said this video was going to be about limited time content and my thoughts on that rather than live service models, and I'm already ranting about the latter. My main issues with limited content are: 1, I don't think it makes much sense for a company to spend resources on creating something that's just going to be gone after 1 or 2 months of it being released. And it makes people who don't have as much time to play feel obligated to play so they don't miss out on the content, which in some cases can cause you to be less powerful than other players. One example of this is Arcade Unchained. There's a system in that game called the labor system that limits you each day to the number of stuff that you can do to progress your character. Now there's also a cap on this, so whether or not you're playing the game, you kind of feel like you always have to be using up all your labor. If you're capped and then you don't use all of it, then you feel like you aren't getting as much out of the system and therefore the game, and you're falling behind. While this isn't exactly limited content in the way that it's only out for a certain time, it still has the same effect. Now let's take a look at what Monster Hunter World does, which is a game that I absolutely adore. There are certain very powerful monsters that only come out for a set amount of time that have very powerful armor and or weapons for each and every single weapon type. The most recent example of this is FFXIV, a monster that upon release has literally, I am not kidding, the best weapons for every single element and status for every single weapon type in the game for up to 2 patches later. We're 2 patches past this and it's still the best stuff in the game. Now, Capcom did have this out for, I think, about 3 months, and it will come back at some point, or it'll come back more than just once. They'll cycle it through, but it doesn't ever feel good to essentially be gear locked until they re-release something that you missed because maybe you had to work a lot when the content was out. Maybe you came late into the game, and by the time you got to the point where you could actually do that fight, it's gone. I had to deal with that a lot, actually, in the base game of World. I came into it pretty late and had to wait for all the arch tempers to come back up on the rotation in order to get the best endgame gear, which allowed me to really do what I wanted to do, and that just doesn't feel good. It's one thing to have a wall in the game that stops your progress, but you can overcome it by just putting more time into the game. Maybe you just have to get better at the fight, or maybe there's some strategy that you figure out, and that feels rewarding and that feels good. But when the wall, quote unquote, is purely, I literally can't do the content because the dev has it on a rotation or I missed it, that's just completely lame. Now, Iceborne has done some things to combat this, such as releasing content for longer or having other monsters in the game that have gear that's, comparable to what FFXIV's gear is and such. But I wish they would just go back to the way they did it in the older games where once an event quest is out, that's it. It's just out for forever. Now, having limited content in these live service models does keep people coming back to the game more often after they quote-unquote beat it, so that is a plus, but not when it's causing games like Call of Duty or now even Pokemon to essentially take away content and then add it back in paid DLC and season passes. Now, there is a lot more nuance to some of these examples, particularly the Pokemon one, but I think you guys get the sort of big picture that I'm trying to convey here. Even Final Fantasy XIV is implementing some sort of time-based content with their new Unreal Trials. Of course, we have yet to see if the gear from these trials will be equal in power to the current raid tier and such, but I don't think placing a time limit on content will create a healthy long-term player engagement for any game, regardless of what type it is. Yes, you'll see a spike in players, but once they clear it or they do it or whatever the case may be, it'll just drop off again and they'll go play other things. That doesn't create long-term investment. I, for one, know that I'm getting really tired of this trend, and I think a lot of other gamers are too, and in my opinion, it's just going to continue to create a gap of frustration and just widen it between the player base and the developer. I really don't think that limited time content in the long run is good for the health of any game. That's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about this topic in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you as always for watching, and if you want to see me play Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter, and more live, you can check me out over at twitch.tv/feeper7, link is in the description. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and with that, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next one.